I'm Adrian, the cruise and travel guide. Join me on board United Airlines flying between Sydney and Houston and back again, first in premium economy and then Polaris business class. Feel free to use the chapter tool to skip to your preferred section. My journey begins in Sydney and will see me fly all the way through to Fort Lauderdale via Houston, where I attended the naming ceremony and inaugural Caribbean cruise of the brand new Star Princess. You can find that video on my channel. After just 5 nights on the ground, I would return to Sydney again via Houston. For this video, I'm only reviewing the long-haul flights, and I chose a mixed class fare. Premium economy for the roughly 15-hour outbound flight, and Polaris business class for the almost 18-hour return leg. I've all checked in and now going to the lounge. I booked the house lounge again. I did this when we went to Canada, and it's really great because you get to avoid the chaos of the terminal and just sort of chill out for a bit, a couple of hours before the flight. And it's a nice way to do it. It's not up there with the business class lounges of Air New Zealand or Singapore Airlines, but it does offer included food and an open bar, and at only 56 Australian dollars, it was a much calmer and nicer place to wait for my flight. Plus, the view was pretty good. Both flights would be on United Airlines 787-9. There's a 3-class layout with Polaris up front and a small premium economy cabin separating economy proper down the back. In premium economy, seating is in a 2-3-2 configuration, and I chose the bulkhead aisle seat 20C. I ended up lucking out with no seat neighbour. In fact, the premium economy and economy cabins were super empty with spare seats galore. Had I known that ahead of time, I probably would have opted for economy. At the seat on boarding, there was an amenity kit containing an eye shade, earplugs, socks, a dental kit and some balms and moisturizers. There was also a Saks Fifth Avenue branded pillow and blanket and noise cancelling headphones, but no slippers, which I had seen included in other YouTube reviews of premium economy. Compared to economy, each seat is wider and offers more legroom. There's also more recline, plus a leg and footrest, which helps on long overnight flights. The armrests don't lift out of the way, so you can't spread out to take advantage of an empty neighbouring seat. The centre console hides a really hard to reach universal power outlet and a USB-A slot. It's also where you plug in your headphones. In the bulkhead seats, the tray table and entertainment screen both fold out from the armrests. The bulkhead also offers more legroom and space to stretch. It would be my pick if I did it again, even though baggage has to remain in the overhead bins. Soon after takeoff, the attendants were around quickly to offer a drink service. Lunch service followed soon after. United Airlines offers a pre-order meal service for premium economy and business class. A few days before departure, I received an email inviting me to place my order. In both cases, it only allowed me to choose the main course of the first meal on board. For lunch, I chose the chicken dish, which was quite tasty, no complaints at all, which is very surprising now knowing what I would later be served in Polaris. The meal is served on a single tray but with upgraded dinnerware compared to the economy meal service. United offers free Wi-Fi messaging or paid internet access. I chose the full flight pass and put it to good use, as for me this was mostly a daytime flight. I couldn't get a speed test to even load, but it was perfectly fine for basic usage and email. I tried my best to rest but didn't have a great deal of success. I'm just not a good sleeper on airplanes. Still, it was definitely more comfortable than a regular economy seat. The recline was good, and the extra pillow from the seat next to me made for good lumbar support. When it was obvious I wouldn't be sleeping, I put the dental kit to use and fired up the entertainment system. There was a snack service about midway through the flight, a solitary plastic-wrapped cold roll which contained tuna or weird-tasting chicken, I'm not sure which. The bag also contained a Tim Tam. There was a snack basket in the galley which contained only some savoury mix and really paled in comparison to both Air New Zealand and American Airlines, both of which I travelled on in economy long-haul flights within the past year. About an hour and a half before landing, breakfast was served. There was a choice of pancakes or eggs and I chose the latter. Like lunch earlier in the flight, it was completely fine. I didn't fully utilise the entertainment system, but there was a decent variety of movies and TV shows on offer. Not as comprehensive as you'll find on airlines like Singapore or Emirates, but solid enough to see you through a flight of any duration. Soon we landed in Houston, and I continued on to Fort Lauderdale for my cruise on the Star Princess. Just 5 very busy days later, I was back in the air, arriving from Florida into Houston about 4.5 hours ahead of my ultra long haul flight.
Flight number 1 is done, 5-hour wait. Another one.
That meant I was able to take advantage of the Polaris lounge, and I was really excited to give it a try. What I found though, disappointingly, was a lounge that became completely overrun by travelers. It wasn't too bad when I arrived at about 3:30 PM, and I located myself at one of the only free spaces I could find near the bar. I enjoyed a glass of champagne and planned to visit the a la carte restaurant a little later on, but that ended up being a mistake. Soon the lounge was absolutely heaving, and it was standing room only. I ended up sharing my table with a weary fellow traveler. There was no chance to take advantage of the restaurant, so I opted for the separate buffet offering for a bite to eat, and then took the opportunity for a quick shower and freshen up before my long journey back to Sydney. Bookings for the shower suites aren't required, and there's a list of amenities you can ask for, including hair dryers and hair straighteners. A shower and change of clothes really makes the difference when you're traveling long haul. I definitely felt prepared for the next flight, helped by the knowledge that I would be traveling in what is supposed to be one of the great business class products of the skies. Boarding was a cinch, with Polaris travelers in Group 1 just after all the pre-boarding groups. I chose a window seat, an odd number which is closer to the window, with the console separating me from the aisle. It's more private and definitely the one to go for if you're traveling alone, but be aware that the entryway to the seat is quite narrow. The cabin is laid out in a 1-to-1 configuration with direct aisle access for all. The alternating arrangement means couples traveling together might prefer the odd number seats in the center, as these offer more privacy from the aisle and put passengers right next to each other, although there is a divider that can be raised if you don't know your seat neighbor. Waiting for me was a menu, 2 pillows, 2 blankets, noise-cancelling headphones, and an amenity kit. The seat is really well designed, with an armrest that can be lowered during flight, providing more space when the seat is reclined into bed mode. It feels really private, and I especially enjoyed the design of the console, topped with this marble look finish. There was a small storage cubby, although mine got stuck shut, and a friendly, knife-wielding flight attendant pried it open before takeoff. I'm a sucker for lighting and loved this little lamp. It automatically turned on when the seat was put back into the takeoff or landing position, or you could control it from the panel. Pajamas and a mattress topper are available on request, although I think these shouldn't need to be requested when traveling in business class on one of the world's longest flights. The PJs are good though. I was much more comfortable after I got changed. Champagne and water were offered before takeoff, and the friendly crew confirmed meal choices, either repeating the orders that had been placed online ahead of the flight or taking orders at that time. We soon took off into the night skies above Texas, with the hot towel following. There was a pre-dinner drink service where I opted for an Aperol Spritz. We were informed before takeoff that the Wi-Fi was not operational on this flight. It ended up being a blessing in disguise. I had planned to work, but was forced into trying to get some rest. While the seat and service were so far ticking all of the boxes, mealtime would prove to be United's business class shortcoming. I had pre-ordered the braised short rib, and on board chose the olive oil poached tuna as my starter course. The starter was fine enough, and a slice of garlic bread paired nicely with the rocket side salad. My main course arrived, and disappointingly, I realized the beef was dry and tough, nothing like a braised short rib should be. I was onto a loser with this meal service, and then I opted for the cheese plate for dessert, stupidly skipping United's famous ice cream sundae cart. A single cheese triangle was accompanied by what I assume were dried fruit pellets of some sort. I'd have been disappointed receiving this in economy, let alone in Polaris. For comparison, this was the cheese course I was served on Korean airline, Asiana, just last year. That review is also on my channel. I did my best to get some rest after dinner, taking advantage of the lie-flat seat and comfortable bedding supplies. The second, smaller pillow was incredibly comfortable, the best I've ever been given on a plane. Some 7 or so hours later, I felt peckish and flipped through the menu card, choosing the stir-fried chicken and mushrooms. What arrived was one of the saltiest meals I've ever been served. I learned it was actually teriyaki chicken, and the rice was dry and hard, as though the whole thing had been overcooked or over-reheated. Another miss for Polaris dining. After a few more hours rest, I decided to freshen up, putting the dental kit to use. There were also some amenities stocked in the business class bathroom. Incidentally, the bathrooms were not particularly clean or well maintained throughout the flight. I've spared you the footage, but it wasn't good. In economy, it was actually better. I ordered a coffee and fired up the in-flight entertainment screen, but it seems like the lack of Wi-Fi also impacted the entertainment offering on board. I don't know for sure, but there appeared to be more available on my flight from Australia, and the menu system was not displaying things correctly. Still, I managed to find some things to watch and then decided to get out of my PJs and back into my day wear as we got closer to Sydney. Roughly 2 hours before touchdown, the cabin lights came on and hot towels were again provided. Breakfast orders were taken individually and I chose the pancakes. Moments later, a tray appeared and the attendant was on to the next passenger. It was then I realized I had been served the eggs. It was my second choice, so I just stuck with it, but yeah, it was almost funny at that point, highlighting just how poor the dining experience in Polaris had been. For whatever it's worth, the breakfast was fine. It was actually the highlight of the entire flight, which is really saying something, but it certainly was nothing special. Sydney put on a brilliant show as my lengthy journey from Houston was coming to an end. The morning light lit up the entire city as our plane looped around on its way to runway 16 right. United provided me with a comfortable trip between the US and Australia. Service on both flights was good. It was the right balance of friendly and professional without being overly warm or familiar. As with most airlines though, service can definitely vary from flight to flight. Premium economy was comfortable, much more than regular economy. I would fly it again, but not if the price difference was too vast. Polaris was certainly a step up in terms of the seating and bedding. The privacy and comfort on an ultra long-haul flight definitely helps. Ironically, I enjoyed the meal service in premium economy more than I did in Polaris. It was truly the worst airline food I've ever been served. Thankfully, I was more interested in the comfort aspect, but at this price point, I expected much better, and United should really sort that out. In total, my mixed fare return flight cost a smidge under $7,000. For comparison, premium economy there and back would have been $3,900, while Polaris would have been just over $10,000 return. At these prices, I definitely expect better, and I don't think United completely hits the mark. A more robust and better quality food offering, especially in business class, is sorely needed. To top off one of the world's longest flights, we even parked at a remote stand at the end of this flight and had to be bussed into Sydney's international terminal. That was definitely another experience for the books.
I hope you enjoyed the review video. Feel free to give me a follow on Facebook and Instagram at The Cruise and Travel Guy, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.